live slide or 33 slides to discuss all the topics on procurement strategies as well as the market and spend analysis, I guess. And the last part would be on the procurement. So I'm going to give now the floor to ayun pala, nagpe-present na sila to Lil and her teammates. All right, so you may take now the virtual stage. Lil, thank you.
Kita na po yung share screen.
Yes, paki-full screen na lang siguro. Thank you.
So our topic is all about procurement strategy. Sorry, chapter 3 po yan nagkamali. Wait lang po, ayaw mag-text. So the objectives of this study are define procurement strategies, analyze the supply chain market, identify spend management and spend analysis, develop supply positioning model, and identify the e-procurement. So for our first reporter is Johnny Estel.
Morning, sir. Procurement strategy. Procurement refers to the act of acquiring or purchasing service or goods on a large scale. Procurement strategy document how your organization runs its procurement function. It provides an overview of your governance framework and a roadmap for the way your organization conducts its procurement activity. Focus on options like reducing costs, mitigating risk, and expanding organization. Sa procurement strategy po, yung procurement strategy, ito ay isang long-term plan na in-aim lang po yung is to ensure the timely supply of goods and service in line with the organization business goal while reducing risk within the supply chain. It is also related to terms like strategy sourcing, kasama dito kung paano mamamanage ang budget, researching, identifying, and lastly, select suppliers. Next, Lil. Sa naman po sa procurement strategy framework. Para sa akin lang po. Isa itong strategy sa pagpo-procure para makuha mo yung business data, economic data, financial data, tapos alamin niyo yung operation, spend forecast, yung impact ng isang company para makapag-provide ng procurement. Yan po. Saka ito po yung dalawang importanteng sa procurement strategy. Una, contract management planning strategy. Defines upfront how procurement categories and individual procurements will be managed at the contractual stage based on their complexity level. Ang pagkakaintindi ko po dito, every company once nag-procure sila ng goods and services, contract management planning strategy, usually nakikita siya sa end of procurement. Di ba nag-ano po sila every purchasing na nagaganap meron pong contract. So in other words, parang everything that happens after the contract or site kailangan po siya magkaroon ng contract. At isa sa strategy na sa isang company yung pagkakaroon ng isang contract management planning. O pangalawa po, procurement activity plan. It provides your organization and potential suppliers with an overview of what you are planning to buy at the category level and individual procurement where information is available. Dito naman po, ito po yung nagsisilbing overview ng mga organization and potential supplier para doon sa purchase. Tapos dito nakalagay yung good at services ng isang business para malaman ng isang supplier kung available ba yung item na ipoprovide ng isang company o hindi. Tapos po parang yung supplier at yung organization may access sila para parehas para sa activity plan. Tapos po ang gagawa ng procurement plan yung mismong company, tapos ang supplier ang titingin kung available ba siya po. Tapos types of procurement strategy. Types of procurement strategy: cost reduction, risk management, supplier management, and optimization, green purchasing, global sourcing, and total quality management. Sa cost reduction naman po, ito ay isang proseso that many companies are being used to reduce their costs and increase their profits. Sa risk management naman po, the process of identifying possible risk, problems or disaster before they happen. Ang purpose ng risk management is to identify potential problem before they occur. Para maplano o maihanda para mapigilan ang mga possible problems. Yun po. Sa supplier management and optimization, makes the best use to technology and resources to improve efficiency and performance in a supply network. Ang in-aim lang po nito is to ensure the optimal operation of manufacturing and distribution in supply chain. Green purchasing or environmentally preferable purchasing is generally defined as purchasing a product that has a lesser or reduced negative effect or increased positive effect on human health and the environment. Ang ina-aim lang po nito is to lesser or reduce effect on human health and the environment. Global sourcing. Sa global sourcing naman po, ang meaning ng global sourcing is a procurement strategy in while business buys goods and service from international markets across geopolitical boundaries to save money by using cheap raw materials or labor from low-cost countries. Ito po ay isang business na kung saan they buy goods and service from international markets to save money. And last, total quality management naman po is the continual process of detecting and reducing or eliminating errors in manufacturing. Importante po ito kasi parang lalong ma-improve ang quality and delivery customer satisfaction. Tapos yung goals ng procurement strategy po, minimize error and save loss savings opportunities, identifying authorized buyers, eliminate maverick spend, ally purchasing with company objectives, increasing efficiency with timely deliveries, ensure purchasing ano to, complies with federal and state regulation, leverage suppliers relationship for more reportable contracts. Next lead. Step to build an effective procurement strategy. May 5 step po ito. Step 1, analyze the current situation. Step 2, prioritize what's important. Step 3, build trust among supplier. Step 4, develop measurable target. And the step 5, plan approach to market. Sa step 1 po, analyze the current situation. On this step, will not only serve as a knowledge base out also base, but also as the foundation for procurement strategy. Always know future requirements and identifying key areas of improvement. Step 2, prioritize what importance. Ito lang. Also documents drivers and link between the procurement strategy because driver is procurement is important. Step 3 naman po. Step 3, build trust and among supplier. Dito po, always trust your suppliers because suppliers play an important role in increasing and the operation and cost efficiencies. Step 4, develop measurable target. Be patient while building a procurement strategy because providing a consistent tool for you to track key, key metrics linked to the procurement strategy. Matatrack din nila ang progress sa binigay na oras. And the last, the planned approach to market. Yung companies pwede siyang i-consider the delivery model. It is important to plan an approach to the market. It is important to determine the appropriate tender process, identifying appropriate pricing mechanism, and lastly, deciding the type of contract required for a particular product.
So the next topic is all about supply chain market.
Before we proceed with with your presentation, so can we go back now on the previous slides? So as reported, is it Johnny? Tama, am I right? Is it Johnny Esteba?
Yes po, sir.
On from the start where Johnny. Okay. So these are procurement strategy. So these are some of the basic terms actually related on this particular topic. So the procurement. So we all know that. So pag procurement, ano yung is the act of acquiring or purchasing services or goods on a large scale. No? So and then the other terminology is in procurement strategy. It's how your organization runs its procurement function. So how do they operate? So what are the specific activities being undertaken? So for this particular function. And then on the next slide. So so this procurement strategy framework actually it's an IPO model. So wherein your procurement strategy is your process. No? So the first component is the business data. So you're going to consider the strategic business plans and budgets. Of course, you'll be how you're going to, and then its output would be on the operation side. So what are the procurement costs and quality and services? So that's the actually the output for this. But then within this procurement strategy, so are going to provide effective quality and services. No? So considering all the budgets and then the business plans. No? So let's talk about the budgets. Of course, you'll be spending financial resources no, for these organizations. So syempre, if this is the budget that you're going to consider, no, so what kind of quality or services that you can acquire no, out of this range of budget no, for that particular activity or let's say operation. So, and then on the strategic business plans, no, so let's say you have this particular business plan. So what are the components of the business plans? No, so basically, there are several components involved in this particular business plan. So what could be the model? So your outsourcing of resources is a consideration on your business plans. And of course, your financial resources and what else you consider with regards to your business plans. So I guess you have effectively um, pass the subject no, in your technopreneurship. So you have your technopreneurship subject, right? Tama. So ang dami oh yes. So if you can still remember those terminologies, no? So doon pa lang sa Canvas model. So these are actually the elements no, you're going to consider in this business plans. No? So yun. And then, procurement cost, no? So, with regards to procurement cost, no? So, ito yung budget mo. So, ano nangyari? So, uh, did you perform this procurement in a way that you can reduce the expected cost of the company? So, if that's so ibig sabihin your strategy in procuring specific materials, no? So, are really effective. No? So, and what about the other way around? So, hindi. Ang nangyari is nag-overspend tayo no, sa given this amount of budget. So these are the considerations that you're going to clarify. So, in the process, no, so kasi doon lang naman tayo sa process that we can do something as industrial engineers no, to lessen and to provide more effective services. No? O yung magiging output no, as a result of that particular process, which in this particular discussion is the procurement itself. No? And then considering the second inputs no, on the economic data. So meron pa daw na kalalabasan dyan na spend forecast. No? So on the economic data, so you have considerations on commodity indices, so economic forecast and supplier acquisition. So with regards to forecasting kasi is really challenging for you to forecast this ano. Kumbaga kasi is ano nga bang rule pagka nagpo-forecast tayo. So there's a tendency that your forecast is somehow not the outcome that you want to have no, at the end of the process. No? So, but then may mga considerations naman tayo dun. So while we do careful forecasting on these matters. No? So like for example, so ito yung consideration mo on these inputs no, on the economic data. And then yung savings forecast mo is ito kanilabasan. No? So if you have met the ideal savings no, or your forecasted savings no, for that particular operation. So mas maganda, di ba? But then kung hindi pala ganyan yung kinalabasan. So maybe we should learn something. So ano ba along the process we'll be doing this sabi nga kanina, so we can just do something on the procurement process alone. So pero pagdating do sa ano, so maybe we can still consider no this data kasi baka yung pag-acquire ng data doon hindi tama. So giving us false information no, to process no the to perform the procurement na itself no. So and then ang kinalabasan yung savings forecast natin and the demand forecast as hindi yun yung ina-expect natin as we have forecasted it. No? And then the last inputs here are the financial data. So you have considered here the projected revenues. So not just these revenues, but may mga ibang kapang considerations yan. So also the cash flows and the projected growth. No? And then its expected output has something to do on the revenue impact. No? So which is in terms of savings. No? So baka may mga hindi tayo na-consider. No? So pagdating dito, so yun nga. So bottom line, no? So we must be carefully performing these procurement strategies. No? Kung meron tayong nagawa before, let's for example, and may mga previous activities tayo no, has something to do with procurement. So, and then nakita natin na hindi siya ganun effective. So, we should learn from it. No? So, anyway, so we are IE, so we should always perform something good no, for the better of the organization. Sabi nga is, we make things better. No? So, gas-gas na gas-gas na. So, it's very cliche no, to say these things, but doon lang umiikot talaga yung mundo natin. So, we make things better. So, you always make things better. No? So, like right now, no? So, if you are going to personally assess yourselves, no? So, respectively, no? So, ano ba yung nagawa natin that we can say that we're doing better from the previous year, or let's say we're eyeing na ganito tayo ngayon, di ba? So from our previous years, no? So, ayun. So hopefully, it's just a few months away, you know, to have your transformation as an industrial engineer. So hopefully, uh, ma-internalize nyo na yung pagiging industrial engineer because ayun, so I don't know the effect of conducting classes no on you sa ganitong sitwasyon. So parang marami yata kayo na miss out no like say on the face-to-face interaction. So hopefully your experience next hopefully your experience next semester so will suffice all the missing knowledge no so with regards to your fulfillment as an industrial engineer. So ayun, so maybe you can look for a better organization that will hone your potentials as an industrial engineer. So mas maganda if you can target your dream company no so much better. So who knows no baka is your RJT or your internship would be your stepping stone no, to enter in that organization. So let us see no. So kaya mas maganda if you can hindi yung for the sake of compliance with the for the sake of complying with the OJT no para lang may OJT no. So kung may mga options pa naman kayo na pwede nyo i-try. So you should do it no. So mas maganda the aiming high no so for let's say mga multinational companies na agad yung kukunin nyo na na place of internship no so next semester so as early as now I guess you are planning for it no? So hopefully no so we can proceed with the next slide ito ano may mga sinabi dito procurement strategies una yung sa contract management planning strategy so it sa simula pa lang kasi it should be well defined no how we're going to parang in terms of una-una dun yung sa payment scheme so we're going to provide this let's say for example may mga ano yung terms like for example pag may mga projects na kailangan ngayon so or yung mga kung halimbawa yung raw materials that you are utilizing are talagang nag-ano agad yung kanilang quality so nagde-deteriorate agad so what will happen so meron ba silang return policy and so mga something that you will that you should clarify no so when things go wrong no on the part of the organization so mas maganda na makita natin yun yung mga yun so yung worst case scenario so what will be the liability of the supplier no so with regards to this no? So may mga ganun ba so yun that you should clarify no, before entering into a contract and then procurement activity plan. So normally naman, if the company is well established, no, so may mga meron na yan, may mga ganyan na yan. So actually, sa government procedure is one of the slowest, no, sa slowest processes, no, within the organization. So kami personally, we're experiencing this procurement dilemma. Kasi like for example, matatapos na yung project and then requesting for a particular instrument, hindi na nagagamit. Or like for example, the supplies, no, that we want. No? So the recent experience that we had is yung sa pag-procure ng potassium nitrate. The potassium nitrate is, as we all know, is one of the ingredients na pagdating sa mga explosives. So kaya very limited lang din nakakapag-procure nito. But then very few lang din yung supplier niya. And then may mga government procedures that should follow. So ganun din naman pagdating sa mga private organization. If the company talks about a greater amount of resources, financial resources for them. So dapat naman talaga is dumadaan naman lahat, no, sa tamang bidding. And then yun nga, kung magsisimula pa lang the organization, so therefore there should be a well-devised activity plan, procurement activity plan for this. Of course, you have to consider all the statutory requirements. When we say statutory requirements, so these are the mga procedures na kailangan in a way na hindi ka magkakaroon ng mga kaso. No? Kasi may mga ganyan eh. So, sige, eto na lang kaibigan ko. Nandito kasi yung kaibigan ko eh. Papanulunin ko na lang sila na sila yung manalo sa bidding. Maghahanap na lang ako ng mga highest bidders, no? Para sila yung manalo. Kasi normally naman pag nananalo sa bidding, sila yung mga lowest bidder. But then, it's on the duty or responsibility of the technical working group to check, no, whether these specifications conform to the requirements of the organization or the company. No? So, may mga ganun scenario. So, kaya nga sa maraming mga government officials, especially those of the higher ups, no, ay nasasangkot sa mga ganitong skandalo because of favoring someone or some personal organization na medyo may personal connection on that particular people na may mataas yung sinasabi sa isang organization. Next. And then may mga types of procurement strategies. So, although hindi ko ito nabasa, pero based on my knowledge and experiences. So, yun nga, so types of procurement strategies. So, ano ba yung mga, ano mga concern? Kasi, if you're an IE, so palagi mong hinahanap yun is yung kasama makatipid, no? Yung pagka-Ilocano yung mga IE. So, saan nga makakatipid in a way that you can meet all the requirements na meron kayong quality output, no? So, ito isang sa consideration, the cost reduction, no? So, we're going to perform the procurement functions in a way that the company can save more, no? So, out of that process. No? And then on the risk management, no? So, pwedeng yung kanina, considering all the sa forecast, pwede isang consideration the risk management. And then what will happen, let's say this particular supplier is did not deliver, no, the amount of or the volume that you are really needed, no, para dun sa isang production line. So, ano yung mga possible considerations natin? So, yun. So, of course, hindi ka naman dasabak sa isang gera na wala kang isang na may plan A ka lang, di ba? So, of course, we have several strategies. May plan B, plan C ka. No? So, kaya nga yung parang isa sa mga foundations din on management. Ito yung mga on warfare, no? Di ba pag warfare ay hindi pwedeng isa lang yung dala mong armas, no? What could be the other strategies, no? Na para mas mapanalo mo, no, yung battle na yun. So, ayun, so same thing din on this particular process. No? And the supplier management and optimization. So, Ayan, so pwede kasing let's say this particular suppliers can deliver as well other commodities na pwedeng tingnan din natin na baka po pwedeng sa kanila na rin yun. So, in a way that you can uh, save no, for the logistics no, ng isang ng mga items na yun. And then, ano pa mga po sinabi supplier management and optimization. So, um, pwedeng ano rin, isang concern din natin dito ay parang may to build up no, a relationship no. So pwede kasi if you have several suppliers no, for a particular item, so pwedeng i-consider mo rin naman yun sa kanila. So in a way, no, so kung halimbawa, out of stock si supplier A, so meron ka pang isang supplier na pwede mo ano. So of course, no, if you have a good relationship with the particular supplier, no, all sa mga suppliers na involved for that item, so madali na lang sa inyo yun. No? And then, green purchasing, so pag green purchasing kasi, di ba, yun din na nagsimula yung sa ano yung sa green engineering. So like for example, so we are isa sa mga components na hinahanap natin is the environmental effect no. May positive no, environmental effect no, when we purchase that particular product. So pwedeng yung mga eco-friendly or mga supporting the Greenpeace, pwedeng Greenpeace no, supporting the the green manufacturing. So ano yung mga suppliers na yun favoring this particular concept no. So yun. So ano pa? Ano nga sinabi kanina ni Johnny dito pagdating sa green purchasing? Johnny, Johnny, Johnny. Johnny, ano yung sinabi mo niya pagdating sa green purchasing? O nawala na. Sige, doon na tayo sa global sourcing. So global sourcing ay yung globalization kasi isa sa mga palagi na lang natin na topic yan pagdating sa mga management concepts. No? So hindi ka na lang nakokontento sa mga ino-offer ng local industries. No? So consider you can also consider the other suppliers abroad no na may ma-offer din naman sa atin na mas maganda yung quality. No? So, and then total quality management. So, total quality management in a sense that you're considering the whole supply chain. So, from the operations, from the procurement of raw material, so there must be an assurance na quality na yung ginagawa. Hindi yung quality at the end of the production of that particular item. So, di ba, yung mga sinasabi ng mga end of pipe solution. So you are just checking the quality of an item. No? So at the end pa lang. So wherein if it's embodied to all the people involved, no, yung dadaanan ng mismong items na yun. So from the raw materials utilization hanggang sa mismong delivery of that items to our clients. So the quality must be instilled no, to that process. No? So yun, so that's the essence of the total quality management. So considering all the elements or components of the supply chain, so ensuring the quality must be there. And then is it the last slide presented by Johnny? Can we go back? Ito na yun, steps to build an effective procurement strategy. So this is to be discussed by our natapos na rin ni Johnny.
Tapos na po, sir. Sa ano na?
Parang sige. So analyze the current situation. So steps to build an effective procurement strategy. So of course, you have to scan the environment. So scanning the environment so wherein you're going to analyze the situation. And before developing any procurement strategy, companies need to take time to figure out what aligns with the objectives of the company. Of course, it's really important. Baka kasi you are promoting a green manufacturing, no? Pero ang ginagawa niyo naman pagdating sa procurement is parang walang habas kayo nagpo-procure ng mga ganitong items. No? na hindi nagsusupport no, on your policies and then on your objectives na as an organization. And they should know their future requirements and identify key areas of improvement. And a step to prioritize what's important. So once the situation has been critically evaluated, it's important to document drivers and link between the procurement strategy and corporate goals. So strategic drivers so differ greatly from industry to industry. Of course, no? So kaya nga pagdating sa definition of quality, so it could be different no, from the other perspective. No? So pwedeng sa inyo quality to, but then on the other hand, no, kung ang concern nila is this particular element, no? So or characteristic, no? Ibig sabihin, so yun yung kanilang mas binibigyan ng importance. Next. Later, wait. Next, step 3. So build trust among suppliers. No? So suppliers not just only form an integral part of businesses, but also play an important role in increasing the operational and cost efficiencies. No? So building credibility and trust among the team will help companies to deal with the high volume or last minute demands and the successful implementation of procurement strategy. Totoo yan. No? So of course, yun yung sinasabi relationship management no, with your suppliers. No? Communication is playing a big part no in this particular case no. Katulad sinasabi niya na if you are a friend no a particular supplier, so more and more favor that you can get no so out of that relationship no? So kung maganda yung relationship natin, diba? And then develop measurable targets. So all the boosting sales remains one of the primary objectives of our businesses. But companies need to be more specific while building procurement strategies. So they should precisely know if the targets set by them are specific and measurable or not. So may mga ganyan, may mga yung KPI, no? So may mga actually tama naman yung pina-perform nilang activity, but then on measuring the key performance indicator, so doon medyo hindi nila na-define na maayos, no? But then andun na yun eh, andun actually siya. So yung tamang pag-assess lang, no? What are the KPIs, no? Na mas madali siyang ma-target no? Ng ating mga personnel. And then the last one is a plan approach to market. So before you put your plan into action, it's a plan and approach to the market. So this involves determining the appropriate tender process, identifying the appropriate pricing mechanism, and deciding the type of contract required for a particular project. So I have nothing more to say about step 5. So we can proceed with the next slide. So this will be discussed by Lynn. So take it away, Lynn. Thank you very much.
Bali po kay Nel tong part na to, sir. Kasi lang po, for some reason, di po siya makakapasok.
Is it cliche din ba?
Kami na lang po ni Paula magre-report.
Hindi kasi so he approached me last time and then I don't know the real situation about him pero wala daw siyang pang load. I don't know kung ano talaga yung case. Is it really true?
Yun po yung sabi ko sa amin.
Pero nag-online siya, di ba? Nagla-live siya.
Hindi ko po alam.
Medyo lang. So, hindi ko, personally speaking, parang hindi ako naniniwala na ganun yung situation niya. So, because sometimes, so I don't know kung totoo yun, pero parang ang hirap kasi pa nila. Iba kasi is they are really doing something no, para maka-attend lang ng mga classes. No? Working students, no? So, ayun. So, sana lang, ayun naman siya. Makahanap siya ng plano para niya mapabuti yung sitwasyon niya ngayon. So, I'm not saying na pero marami kasing way, di ba? If kailangan niya talaga ng assistance regarding we can sort of provide him kumbaga few assistance, magkano lang naman yung 50 pesos na load no, for a day. Diba? So, pwede naman namin i-raise yun sa and then PII is I guess may mga officers dito. Andiyan si Ibon. So, may mga assistance na naman na provide yung SC. So, for them. Pero nasa initiative na rin kasi niya eh. So, ako as an instructor, I don't believe him. So, yun lang. So, you can relate to him. So, kung gusto niya mag-drop, so you can drop the subject actually. So, kung wala siyang interest na makagraduate, so, sorry, pero ang dami kasi striving really hard no, para lang maka-make up with classes. Pero look what he's doing. So, yun lang. Thank you.
Thank you po, sir. For the next topic, it's all about supply chain market. It is a chain of suppliers that organization depends on to create marketing materials, advertise their products and services. Also, marketing supports supply chain agility and flexibility. Through a collaborative relationship, marketing provides essential marketplace information that impacts changes in demand. Ang supply chain ay nagpo-provide ng essential marketplace information which is merong impact sa changes ng demand. Also, responsible din siya para ma-strengthen yung competitive position ng isang company. So, here are the steps of a supply chain market. Step 1, define your objective, scope, and commodity profile. Ito yung usually na ginagawa ng every company, which is yung identify their objectives. Kailangan muna nilang malaman ano bang goal nila before sila start ng before sila mag-start ng susunod na step. Next, for the step 2, research the market and pricing structure for your commodity. Of course, ng isang firm's market research should include an evaluation of all variables na pwedeng makaapekto sa price range ng isang product or service. Ito rin na yung mga how pricing works tulad ng mga material, labor, transportation, and energy utilities. Paula.
Sunod yung step 3, yung conduct in-depth supplier analysis. Dito, ina-identify yung main players sa market na, for example, is yung suppliers in the company. Dito, nag-investigate sila about sa geographic locations, the target customers, competitive advantage, financial background, and the context in which they operate. Para malaman nila yung information about the suppliers, they use a SWOT diagram, which means strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat. Tapos, sa diagram na to, mapapadali nito yung pagko-compare nila sa mga suppliers. Next step is identify key market indicators. Dito, kailangan malaman yung right indicators para maging knowledgeable yung isang company sa current state of the market. Next step is compile your findings and outline your final recommendation. Dito, pagsasama-samahin mo yung lahat na na-investigate mo para makapag-develop and implement ng right way para sa company. Tapos may enhance nito yung business competitive advantage, mare-reduce nito yung risk sa supply chain, and may strengthen yung financial position ng yung company. Next. Sumunod ay yung spend management. Pag sinabing spend management, ito yung process ng pag-collect, maintain, categorizing, and evaluating spend data para ma-reduce yung procurement costs, ma-improve yung efficiency, monitor and control workflows, and regulate compliance. So, spend management also helps to pinpoint where exactly you're losing money and where you can optimize spending habits, reduce risk, and streamline cash flow. Itong spend management, it is the art of planning and managing expenses para ma-optimize yung procurement and minimize waste. Itong spend management, nakaka-apekto siya sa various activities across the procurement cycle. Next slide. This figure shows the 4 pillars of enterprise spend management, which are spend analysis, strategic sourcing, supplier management, and process efficiency. Sa sa 4 na pillars nito, ang madidiscuss ko mamaya yung spend analysis. Next is is the steps to effective spend management. First step is to identify all the sources of expenditure. Pag sinabing expenditure, ito yung mga gastos ng isang company. Example ng sources of expenditure yung employee salaries, rent, utilities, licenses, advertising, and marketing. Next step, pag nakolek na tong lahat ng sources of expenditure, it is needed to centralize all this data in a data repository. Pag sinabing data repository, it serves as a visual data storage that helps businesses storage and analyze data for effective decision making. Nakakatulong to para sa maayos na pagdesisyon ng isang company. Tapos ang assign sa sa task na to, yung pagsa-centralize na expenditure data ay yung mga tao sa accounts department. Tapos sabi rin para mapamadali yung process ng pagsa-centralize ng expenditure data, gumagamit sila ng tinatawag na automation. Step 3 is verify and cleanse data. Sa part na to, binavalidate yung data, tapos kinikleanse din yung data like removing duplicates, expenditure data, yung errors, tsaka spelling mistakes. Tapos next step, yung categorize the spend data. Since maraming various types ng spend data, kailangan to i-categorize. Tsaka yung pagka-create ng categories and classification, dapat depende siya sa objective ng organizations and operations. For example is purchase orders and transaction data. Next slide. So yung sumunod na step ay yung analyze spend. Ibig sabihin dito, yung collected data, cleanse and classified spend data, kailangan i-analyze siya para malaman kung may mga nangyayaring anomaly sa mga gastusin sa company. Tapos next step is strategize and execute. Dito, nag-iisip yung companies na isang strategy at nag-implement sila ng mga changes para mapaganda yung company. So next step, the last step is forecast foresee. So pag sinabi di bang forecasting, it refers to the tools and techniques used to predict developments in business such as sales, expenditures, and in profit. Yung mga nakuhang data natin, yung nakuhang data ng isang company, magagamit yun para malaman yung posibleng income, expenditure sa mga susunod na events. Next slide. So next is there are 4 benefits in spend management, which are better sourcing opportunities. In better sourcing opportunities, it will help para ma-identify yung suppliers na nagpe-perform ng maayos tsaka hindi. Tsaka it is done by mapping out all the costs involved in supply chain process. Next benefits, it will increase process efficiency in a way that the company will use spend management software para ma-eliminate yung manual process, para mapadali rin yung pag-identify ng mga expenditure data at pag-analyze. The next benefits is more spend visibility. Para sa pamamagitan ng spend management, makakapag-provide na accurate and timely data para magiging aware sila sa mga magiging gastusin nila, sa mga naging gastusin o mga gagastusin nila. Next is better risk management. Dito, syempre, dahil sa spend management, ma-identify nila yung risk factors and makaka-develop sila kung paano ma-prevent yung risk factors. Next topic is spend analysis. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na isa dun sa 4 na 4 pillars ng spend management. Kumbaga, yung spend management ay yun yung pinaka-strategy on how to manage spend. While itong spend analysis, under lang siya nung Spend management. Spend analysis, it is the practice of analyzing procurement spend to decrease costs, increase efficiency, and to improve supplier relationships. It is, sabi, important na ma-perform tong spend analysis na to kasi it can affect the profitability of the company as well as the fall short of achieving financial and business goals. Next slide. Next is process for conducting a spend analysis. Step 1 is identify sources of expenditure, which encompasses both direct and indirect spending. So pag sinabi natin direct spending, ito yung purchasing of goods and services na directly related sa pagmamanufacture ng product. Example is purchase of machineries and raw materials. Tapos kapag sinabi namang indirect spending, ito yung pag-purchase ng goods and services that are not directly related into the manufacture of products like payment of utilities and marketing expenditure. Next slide. Step 2 naman yung centralized expense data. Once you've done the first step, you must gather expense sources information is in a central database. Tapos yung naka-assign dito is yun sa accounts department. Next step is verify and cleanse data. It is important to verify and cleanse data kasi makakatulong ito sa company decision. Next step is create spend categories. The spend categories should be aligned with the company's objectives. And the example of these categories are supplies, software, marketing expenses, office supplies, inventory, IT services, travel, outsourced services, and legal. So next step is, dito na pumapasok yung step na spend analysis, yung it is need to analyze spend data because it will give a real-time visibility into your company's purchasing history and spending patterns. It will also provide insight into supplier benchmarking and cost opportunities. Next step is define a strategy. It is where the company will make a strategy that will na makakatulong sa isang company para maayos yung sa purchasing nila. It involves implementing changes that affect all stakeholders. Kaya importante na sa decision making at implementation kasama yung stakeholder kasi isa rin naman sila sa mga apektuhan nung pag-implement ng changes mo kasi 'di ba mag-create ng isang strategy. So last step is forecasting and planning. Forecasting and planning will provide insights needed to adapt changes in supply and demand. Yung sa forecasting, gumagamit ito ng historical data as inputs para ma-determine yung direction of future trends. Para sa future, malalaman kung saan i-allocate yung budgets at para makapagplano sa mga inaasahang magiging gastusin sa upcoming events. It is the act of predicting demand, supply, and pricing within an industry. Yun lang po yung Next na, Lynn.
Sir, proceed po ba? Okay, the next topic is all about supply positioning model. Refers to segmenting the spend portfolio by risk and opportunity. With the help of this model, organizations track their supplies based on the money spent with the supplier and the level of susceptibility a business has if that supplier fails. Ibig sabihin, ang supply positioning model helps the organization or the company para malaman nila in what categories they belong or to classify spend with a supplier in terms of profit potential and supply risk. Of course, once na-identify na nila or na-classify, they can develop right strategy Pero para magawa yon, or in order to do that, Peter Kraljic created a matrix called Kraljic Portfolio Purchasing Model that could be used to analyze the purchasing portfolio of a company. This model appeared in the Harvard Business Review in 1983. It is an analysis tool that seeks to map the importance on organization of the item being purchased against the complexity of the market that supplies it. Ibig sabihin, para malaman o magkaroon sila ng insight sa working methods ng isang purchasing department tulad ng how they spend their time on their various products and yung probabilities ng supply disruption, ibig sabihin yung supply risk. Para mag-guide din ng isang company sa kanilang procurement strategy. So, Kraljic model can be seen through the following 4 steps. Okay. The first step is the purchasing classification. This classify all of the commodities, components, products, and services that the company buy according to the supply risk and potential profit impact of each. Ibig sabihin, once na ang company ay nag-procure ng isang product, kailangan nilang i-analyze in a way na need nilang i-consider yung profit impact as well as yung supply risk. If available ba siya sa isang market or mabilis makakuha ng supply. But before that, as you can see, this matrix is consists of 4 quadrants, and there are 2 parameters. The y-axis and x-axis. Kasi di ba in any product or service na pinoprocure have certain characteristic, and magbe-base tayo doon sa dalawang parameters na yon. For y-axis, it is the supply risk. Ibig sabihin yung availability or number of suppliers who can supply those kind of items, or yung sinasabi ko kanina na supply disruption. Maaaring dahil sa natural disaster or few suppliers, or pwede rin dahil sa technology evolution, mga gano'n. Next, for the x-axis ay yung profit impact. Ibig sabihin nito, how much influence does the raw materials prices affect the profit of the end product, as well as their impact on profitability, or kung ano ba ang impact ng price ng isang particular product sa business. Tapos, is it positive ba or negative? In that way, malalaman natin kung saan belong yung particular product, kung anong type of strategies ang nidi-adapt na isang company. Ang una na dyan ay yung non-critical items. For non-critical items, it has a low profit impact and low supply risk. Ito yung products na easy to buy and has a low impact on the financial result. There are products na maraming possible suppliers, and sa pagpe-purchase ng isang product takes much of time dahil sa isa-isa nilang pagpe-purchase ng product sa iba't ibang suppliers para makahanap ng best deal, since marami nga naman supplier na available. That's why the recommended purchasing strategy is to reduce time and money spent on the purchase of these products by enhancing product standardization and efficient processing. Para magawa yon, the company should decrease the number of products and an automation of the purchases, since most industries have developed its systems para makahanap ng best deals on standard products. Next is the leverage items. It has a high profit impact and low supply risk. Ibig sabihin, it is the products that are easy to buy and they have high importance in the buyer's economy. They are standard goods with many suppliers available, and it's easy to switch suppliers, and there is a high impact on cost and benefits. Sila yung product na may high profitability impact and low supply risk factor. The recommended purchasing strategy is that the company or purchasing department ay pwede silang makipag-negotiate with lower prices sa pamamagitan ng pagsasabit ng mga suppliers about their large orders for successive deliveries. So In this item, purchaser has a strong power than the supplier. Next is the bottleneck items muna. It has a low profit impact and high supply risk. Can be only acquired from one supplier or few suppliers, or pwede rin naman na ang delivery is unstable. This may be due to suppliers located in areas na medyo malayo sa company, or it is technically difficult to manufacture the product, or tinatawag nilang special item na mahirap siyang gawin. Also, yung bottleneck items has a low profit impact on the financial results of the firm. So, the purchasing strategy, kailangan nilang i-minimize yung risk related to buying the product. So therefore, it is recommended to sign contracts on a long-term basis with the individual suppliers para they have assurance na meron sa kanilang magsusupply, even though isa itong special items, and additionally, the purchaser can keep extra stock if the complexity of the supply market is very high. Pwede silang mag-stock ng item na yon kapag sobra-sobra yung pinoprovide ng kanilang suppliers. And as you observe, yung bottleneck is opposite siya ng leverage items. Kung doon sa leverage, mas may power yung purchaser department or company. Dito naman sa bottleneck, mas may power yung suppliers. And lastly is the strategic items. As you can see sa matrix, it has a high profit impact and high supply risk. Ibig sabihin, the item is difficult to buy because it can be acquired only from one supplier or very few suppliers. Kaya sinabi nating high supply risk. Next, the product also has a high importance in the buyer's economy, o yung tinatawag na natin special item or product. It is difficult to change supplier, and the products are crucial for the process or the product of the buyer. Also, it has a high profit impact sa financial result ng isang firm. So, they deserve the most attention from the purchasing department. That's why ang recommended purchasing strategy ay to form a partnership between a company and the supplier. Tulad na lang ng mga co-creation ng product with the supplier. Yung strategic items naman is opposite naman siya ng non-critical items. Next, for the second step is market analysis. Investigate how much power of the suppliers have and how much buying power they have as their customer. Dito sa second step, para magawa yung strategic positioning, gagamitin mo lang yung nakuha mong info sa step 1. So once the company or firm analyze their market, ma-figure out na nila whether they stand in the sense of sila yung merong strong power than supplier or vice versa. Ganun lang. And then, sa next step, which is strategic positioning, since you classify the products or materials as strategic in step 1, according to the supplier and by buyer power analysis you did in step 2, para magawa yung strategic positioning, gagamitin mo lang yung nakuha mong info sa step 1 at step 2. Simply enter each item in the purchasing portfolio matrix. That will give you 3 strategies you are either going to exploit or suppliers but are going to balance. Next, your strategy when you are dealing with them, or you are going to diversity as a strategy. So, ang ibig sabihin nung exploit, balance, and diversity is nasa action plans, which is step 4. Finally, develop action plans for each of the products and materials that needs on a regular basis according to where those items are placed in the matrix. Ibig sabihin po, yung action plan or relation to the items you are going to buy will come down to 3 strategies. Either you exploit. You exploit is, which is step 1. So in this case, you are using power to secure good prices, long-term contract relations from a number of suppliers who will fall in this category. So in that way, mare-reduce yung supply risk. If you have more power than the suppliers, ibig sabihin, kung marami kang suppliers, you can exploit them. If they have more power than you, then doon na tayo mag-move sa step 2. Further you move, whether you balance. So ang balance naman is taking a middle approach between exploration and diversification. So of course, the question is, ano nga ba yung diversification? Yung diversity is to reduce the supply risk by seeking alternative suppliers or alternative products. Ibig sabihin, kailangan ma-reduce yung risk by seeking alternative suppliers or alternative na product. Next is the benefits of supply positioning model. The first one is simplicity. It is easy to understand and is a strong communication tool that could be used to convince other departments what they should have to do. Ibig sabihin, once na apply na yung project to a particular context, mas mapapadali na nitong ma-facilitate yung mapping of the current situation. Next benefit is focuses on those areas where potential benefits and risks are greatest. Based on this, the company or firm can discover ways para improve yung company bottom line profits through cost reduction and efficiency gains. So basically, it is good tool for trying to see the position for negotiations. Next is the disadvantages of supply positioning model. The first one is it ignores the fact that not all the risk of supply comes from within the relationship between customer and supplier. Parang nasa-set aside na yung factor or reason sa supply risk like external environmental factors, competition to other companies, and yung impact ng supply risk is na set aside rather than dun sa mismong company o firm. Next is second, the supplier side of the buyer-seller relationship is considered a disregard element in the model. As you observe naman, yung matrix ay nakafocus lang siya sa purchaser kung paano sila magkakaroon ng purchasing strategy, especially kung kapag mataas yung supply risk or mababa. The next topics will be all about e-procurement. It is started in the 1980s following the development of electronic data interchange. It is the process of buying and selling supplies and services over the internet and taking the procurement process and turning it digital. In other words, e-procurement o electronic procurement, kung ibig sabihin ng procurement ay process of acquiring resources, input, dito naman ganun pa rin pero through internet and other virtual networks in order to conduct their normal procurement activities. And para ma-improve din yung speed and efficiency ng isang procurement practices. Ang ginagamit dito ay yung mga web interface or some other kind of network system that connects suppliers and customers. Kung dati kapag nagpo-procure, kailangan pa ng transportation like for business transaction. Ngayon, the use of e-procurement, they no longer had to physical send documents or makipag-negotiate as instead they could be sent electronically. Next is how does e-procurement work? First is product selection. Business go on a specific platform which might be an online catalog, a B2B retail site, or etc. It depends kung anong site or platform ang gagamitin ng company to purchase and to be clear, your e-procurement is only suitable for business purchases and may possibly be hosted through a marketplace. They have access sa suppliers' entire product range, including yung mga contractual conditions. So dito, they choose their products and send their purchase request with a single click. The purchase request is then incorporated into their purchasing system to follow the predefined workflow. So once confirmed, the purchase request becomes an order. Ito na yung second step natin, yung order placement. This This is automatically sent to the supplier concerned as an electronic document or via a marketplace. So yung supplier ipe-prepare na yung product for delivery. After nun, for the third step is receipt of invoice. The invoice can also be dematerialized. Business receives the invoice which automatically accepts the order, pwedeng as a PDF file or electronic document. Next is the key components of e-procurement. The first one is supplier management, refers to a buying organization administrating suppliers' information, interaction, performance, and relationship. There are two elements, supplier relationship management and supply information management. Ito yung component or process na kung saan ini-ensure yung maximum value of money was received for that an organization pays to its suppliers, because these suppliers play a part in the smooth running of an organization, and also important din siya sa both supplier and organization to engage properly and effectively. Isa sa dahilan kung bakit mahalaga yung supplier management is para ma-evaluate if the suppliers are performing as per the organizational requirements. Next is the sourcing and contract management. Details the end-to-end process an organization undertakes when identifying and sourcing products or services. Ito yung deals with strategic sourcing activities and managing contracts, and it is usually comprised of e-sourcing, e-auctions, and e-tenders. And next, for the third component, it is the procurement. Describes the end-to-end process of ordering a product or service from a supplier through the organization making a payment of service rendered. Ibig sabihin ng procurement is made up of product ordering, supplier requisitions, and invoice processing na-improve niya yung efficiency, savings, spend management, and transparency across the entire purchasing life cycle. And lastly is the analytics. Most tools used in business use some sort of analytics platform, and e-procurement is no exception. Inaalaw ng analytics yung procurement and finance professionals para makita or makorek yung measures for spend across the whole business or yung for the whole transaction. Next naman is yung major e-procurement tools. First is electronic data interchange system. Used to exchange data and information between electronic devices, it allowed the customer and suppliers na mag-send and receive ng purchase orders and invoice, followed by internet application and platforms. Businesses implement a variety of procurement tools and web platforms to facilitate day-to-day working, including e-sourcing, e-tendering, e-auctioning, and e-ordering tools. Ito yung mga ginagamit nila na tools or platforms para magkaroon ng e-procurement. Lastly naman is yung e-ordering and purchasing tools. Major tools relating to product purchasing include a web-based ERP and digital mechanism for e-auction. It is used to procure items and accessible din siya para sa mga employees ng organization. Lastly is the benefits of e-procurement. Based on the given information, obviously, di lang napapadali yung trabaho nila. Also, it reduces costs, saves money by preventing duplicate spending and saving costs associated with paper-based systems tulad na lang ng mga cost of stamps to mail the paperwork. Next is the transparent spending. Ibig sabihin, it is easier to write and analyze reports on procurement system. Next is the increased productivity. So once the company learn the system, e-procurement is less time consuming than traditional procurement. Since may record ka na sa system, mas mabilis na siyang masabit. Next is eliminating paperwork. Since everything can be saved and stored electronically, hindi na kailangan mag-provide ng room para sa maraming papers. And next is the increased transaction speed. obviously, mas napapabilis ang gawain or ginagawa especially yung mga paperwork using electronics. And lastly is reduce errors. Since may electronics na nga, malalesen na yung mga paperworks. Yun lang po, sir.
Thank you very much, Lil and Paula. By the way, Lil, are you applying for any Latin honors? After next semester, is there anyone in your class applying for a Latin honor? Meron ba? Meron po. Hello? Wala. Is there anyone? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Parang wala naman. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Ayun. Is there anyone in your class vying for any Latin honor?
Sir,
Meron
hindi
pa ba?
po ako sure kung si Abby po and si Angel Habutay po.
Si Abby, Abigail Jean, tsaka si Angel.
Sir, hindi po ako sure.
Let's hear from them. Nandito naman sila, di ba? Abby, Gail, and Angel, are you vying for any Latin honor? Hello. Iyo po. Abigail, Jean. What's your current GPA? Abby, chat mo na lang. Hindi ka na marinig. What about Angel?
Hello po, sir. Hindi ko rin po alam.
Pero is there any failing grade? Failing grade naman talaga. And what's your lowest grade? 175?
Hindi po, sir. 2.5 po ba? Hindi ko po alam eh. Hindi ko naman po kasi, sir,
2.5?
sine-check.
What about Abby? Alam ko kasi nakaraan ay parang alam ko ay the lowest grade yata for cum laude should be 2.25 ba or 2.0. And then same thing with Manya. So 175 yata. Parang ganun. May minimum Pero it's been a while. Medyo kahit pa mag-qualify sa hindi ko alam kung still policy. Dapat ay may wala yatang walang grade lower than 225 para maging cum laude yata. Pag cum laude, 225 yata ang lowest. Pag manya is 2.0 yata. Tapos pag summa, 1.75 or higher pa yata. Baka 2, 175 and 1.5. So anyway, so it's been a while, so wala. Maraming kasing mga qualified pero medyo inabutan lang ko talaga ng mga subjects na medyo hindi maganda na po ang resulta with at the end of the semester. But anyway, I have to commend this group for coming up with this material kasi it's very comprehensive, so especially the later part so well discussed by Lil, so that's why I'm asking if Lil is on the honor roll. So I have nothing more to say, so it's well discussed. So while I'm attending to another activities, so nabigyan naman ng magandang discussions, especially the later part niya, sabi ko kanina kay and kay Paula. And yun, so I have to attend attend at meeting by 3 o'clock. So, hindi ko na po siya papahabain. So, hindi na rin magre-request sa ng any screenshot ng ating attendance for today. So, I have jotted all the I have jotted down the participants for today's meeting. So, yun lang. And then, I don't know if I am sounded harsh kanina with regards to Nel Francisco, but then, sana it's not too late, no, so for him. So, I have already posted my message at the GC. So, para lang maka-attend siya, sige, I'll be providing him the data para maka-attend na siya mga So, ano po, so paki-relay na lang if he's not online. So, yun lang naman kasi ay sayang naman kasi yung semester. So, ilang sem na lang ay graduate na rin kayo. Especially this year, this semester na meron kayong inaayos na thesis. So, who's the group mate or partner of Francisco, Nel Francisco? Si Angel, Nina Soriano. So, since ikaw yung pinaka-close niya, so can you tell us more about the situation?
Ano po, sir? Sa thesis rin po, hindi rin po siya tumutulong.
So, attitude na talaga yung problema. Okay, so wala tayong magagawa kung ayaw niya talaga. Ni-encourage mo pa rin naman siya para mag-ano. So, I don't know. May mga personal issues din siya. So, as much as possible, try to understand. Sayang pati na lang Di ba? Ang dami kasi nagpupumili, especially in itong mga nakaraang semester. Ang dami nagpupumili na gusto makapasok ng CBSU pero hindi sila makapasok kasi ang sistema ngayon, patalinuhan na talaga. Di ba? So, sayang naman kung hindi niya pa bibigyan ng konting time pa ito. Di ba? Konting-konti na lang. Ayun. So, ewan. So, yun na lang siguro. So, kayo na bahala mag-relay sa kanya kung ano man yung plano niya sa buhay. Pero, since di pa tayo nakapag-midterm, so, pwede pa naman. Pero, sabi ko nga, 3 consecutive absences can be considered as drop without his knowledge. Lagi sinasabi ng BP namin, we must be lenient to our student. Pero paano kung yung estudyante talaga ayaw makipag-cooperate, di ba? So, please all understand our situation. So, yun lang. So, habang may nag-iintindi pa sa kanya naman, pagdating ng after mga November, December, saka siya magmamakaawa ng ano ba naman yun? Parang maraming ganyan nangyayari sinari sa university. At then, may mga ibang instructor pa nga, pinapost pa yung ganitong mga insidente sa social media. So, pero sana as early as now ay nakipag-coordinate na sana siya. Kasi ay napaka-unfair naman para sa inyo kung at the end of semesters, magiging malambot lang.
Wala sir, no?
Learn. So, ayun lang, yung mga ganun scenario. So, huwag naman sana at the end of semester ay pass IE. So, nagbibigay ng mga considerations sa ganito. But then, if he's taking as an advantage to hindi maganda situation. So, yun lang. So, I'm gonna end ay, sorry. Okay lang din yun na po. So, yun lang. So, I'm gonna end now the discussion. But then, yun na lang. So, if you can still encourage Mr. Francisco to to come in class. No? So, yun na lang. No? At makipag-participate. Especially si Soriano is nahihirapan din naman sa thesis. Sana naman ay magpakitang gilas din siya sa thesis nila. So, nakakahiya naman na ipapublish ni Angel, ni Sir ni Soriano yung kanyang thesis ay andun yung pangalan niya, wala namang ka-effort, di ba? So, mas justified na andun yung effort sa and kaysa ibang activities. Yun lang. So, pasensya na medyo dismayed lang talaga ako about his situation. So, ayaw ko lang kasi yun na lang siguro. So, thank you very much at tingin po tayo na. So, I'm gonna end now the meeting. So, thank you very much at tingin po. Bye-bye.